This video will show you how to shade water. So in 2-point perspective, just like in 1-point perspective, as we get closer to the vanishing point, things will appear to get lighter. So the way I like to do my water shading is just simply by filling everything in one shade all the way from start to finish. Now what you'll notice about my shading is that I'm shading in smaller sections. So if you're going to go like this, you're going to end up with messy shading. You really want smaller sections or smaller strokes, and then you move up and do the next section. So you can see I'm applying the same amount of pressure all the way through right now. All right, so now I've got a basic blue shaded into most of my body of water. I now need to make the part that's closest to me look a little bit darker. So you're going to be creating almost a gradient, which goes from dark to medium to light smoothly. So the reason why I like to just do it all in one color first is so that I have room to apply more pressure. And that way I'm not sort of stuck with what I did in my very first step. I can start slower. So I'm now applying more pressure to this part of the water that is closer to me. And once I've done that, I can start to bring in some other values, because water doesn't just have one value of blue. So here I have a darker value which I can use, and I'm just by bringing in this darker value, it just adds a little more depth and variety into the way the water is looking. It makes it a little more interesting to look at, and it also of course makes it look a little more realistic. And just by adding this darker blue, automatically the part of the water that's closer to me is really looking darker. So as I move towards my vanishing point, I can still use this dark blue, but I'm going to want to ease up on my pressure so it doesn't get too dark. And again, I could keep going over it until it really is even darker down here, but I think I'm pretty happy with the gradient that I've created, the dark, medium, light. If I wanted to, I could bring some purple into the water. Okay, it also will depend on the time of day, so maybe this is like dusk, and there's a purple sunset happening in the sky that's partially being reflected into my water. It just makes it look a little more interesting. But now is the time where I actually have to make it look a little more like water, and also like there's distance here. So what you want to do is you want to create waves. The waves that are closer to the vanishing point are going to be smaller and closer together. So, sorry. So these little waves that I'm drawing are just little squigglies that are small and close together. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. Small and close together. And then as I start to get farther away, my little waves are getting bigger and farther apart. Now you'll notice that my waves should be horizontal. If I had them on an angle, it would make the water look a little bit like it was standing up. So there we go. That's the tutorial on water. You can always outline it if you want, your body of water. You could create shrubbery or some grass that's on the edges of the water, but that's the basics of how you shade water. It gets lighter as it gets closer to the vanishing point, or it appears to get lighter as it gets closer to the vanishing point, and those waves will get smaller and closer together.